G'day! It is time for a book haul. I'm going to show you all of the books that I have either bought or found in a free library or that have been gifted to me since the 1st of May until the 31st of August, because I do these per trimester. We've got quite a few books to get through. I'm going to start with the books that I got because I've already previously read them and loved them at that time, because I like focusing on that kind of books instead of buying new books that are going to go on my TBR. Let me grab them! This is that stack. First off, I got myself a new version of The Color Purple. I already owned this one, but I owned a mass market paperback version and I love this too much and thought it's a brilliant book. I would definitely recommend it. It's a book set in the deep south and we meet a woman who slowly but surely finds her way in life. And yes, very good. Happy that I have a pretty cover, a pretty version of it now that can stay in the pretty part of my bookshelves. Another one that is similar vein, not really, is Passing by Neela Larson. Read this one last year with my book club. This one is about a black woman that can pass as white. She decides not to do that, but at one point she meets an old school friend of hers who has decided to pass as white, who married a white man who doesn't know that she is black and who is a horrible person, and stuff ensues. Love this. Still not sure whether I'm going to watch the Netflix adaptation. So I was in a bookshop. There's a bookshop near where I work, and I saw the whole trilogy of the Devabad Trilogy by S.S. Chakrabarti. I read this trilogy last year. It's a fantasy trilogy set in a fantasy world that is mostly based on Arabicness, or at least Middle East more like. So we've got the City of Brass, the Kingdom of Copper, and the Empire of Gold. I'm so happy that they're sitting on my shelves now. I mean, I was a bit hesitant to get them, but I'm happy that I have them. Yeah, really love this series. Gonna keep it that. A friend of mine was putting this one away. It's Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I think I read it 2 years ago. This is about a young woman who marries a wealthy man. She goes to live at his house, Manderley, and there she discovers that the presence of his wife that has passed away is very much still there, and it's about how she discovers all of that. It's such a pretty edition. I mean, I'm disappointed that she didn't like it. I would have preferred it more for her if she'd liked the book, but now I have this pretty edition, so I'm happy. I got myself, I didn't own one of these, Le Petit Prince d'Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. I feel like I'm a legit French person again, a little bit, because I didn't own one. I had owned one and then I lent it to a friend in high school and I never saw it again, so now I have my very own Le Petit Prince version. I studied this one at school when I was 11 and looking forward to rereading it. Another one that I found, so this one I found at a secondhand bookshop, is Elegance du Hérisson, The Elegance of a Hedgehog by Muriel Barbery. I read this one 8 years ago. Maybe longer, maybe 10 years ago. And what was great, so this is about a young girl who decides that she doesn't like life and therefore she's going to commit suicide in X days. And in that same period, she starts to get to know the caretaker of the flat that she lives in, and that woman has this very gruffy exterior and just wants to be left alone, but secretly she reads so many books and is very much into art and knows a lot of things, and it's about their relationship. It's wonderful and looking forward to rereading it. When I was reading this the first time, quick little story, I was rowing at the time and my teammate, we were in a boat for 2 people, a pair is what it's called, and we were going to race. We were both in the train, we both had our book. I was like, hey, what book are you reading? Oh, L'Elegance du Hérisson. She was reading the same book. We were both reading this book, both in different languages, and we both were at different points also in the story, but it was great. The last one is a non-fiction called Recht van het Snelste by Talia Verkade and Marco de Brommelstroet. This is a non-fiction about the mobility in the Netherlands, so how we treat people that go by car, people that walk, cyclists, and what it means for infrastructure, what it means for a lot of different things. I found this one fascinating when I read it 2 years ago. It's still something that I think about when I am in traffic. When I walk, when I walk and I'm crossing a zebra path, a cross path, I don't know what's when you're crossing the road, I think, yeah, but I'm allowed to be here. I don't rush over anymore. I think me as a walker, a pedestrian, I'm allowed to be here. There should be more place for pedestrians. I'm taking my space. So I'm looking forward to speed reading this one and marking all of the stuff that I found interesting the first time, but that I couldn't mark because I was audiobooking it, maybe. And I want to get back to those parts and reread them and make sure that what I have in my head is also what is in the book. Make sure that also that I can get back to it easily. So I'm going to speed read this one at one point. Those are all of the books that I had previously owned, I think. I'm going to count it at the end. Then we have 2 books that, there should be 3, 2 books that I have bought and then since then read. So first off, we have The Cabinet by Eun-Soo Kim. This is a story about a cabinet that holds a lot of information about people that have these very different biologies. So we have people that can suddenly disappear and will go back and forth in time. We have people that can fall asleep randomly. We have a person that has a lizard instead of a tongue. We have a person that is growing a tree. And it's about all of these lives and the person that is kind of taking care of the cabinet. Really great. It's translated from the Korean by Sean-Lin Hurlbert. And then we have got a book that I read for Invisible Cities. This one is set in Congo. It's called Petit Piment by Anna Mabonkou. This is about a boy that grows up in an orphanage and what that is like. It's a book that the social commentary is great, but the story itself kind of goes all over the place. So positives and negatives. Ooh! I drew a map. I drew a map of Congo, so I would know where places are. That's a good idea. I should do that more often. Oh, and I wrote other things also about Congo in this. So like when the Civil War is and when some people came to be. That's a good idea. I should keep doing that. See, I also got Tomb of Sand by Gitanji Sri. That is translated from the Hindi? Is it translated from the Hindi? No, I'm not sure. Yeah, Hindi. Yeah, okay, I had it right. So this is translated from the Hindi by Daisy Rockwell. I am technically still reading this. I still have a quarter of the way to go, but I'm still counting it right now on the stack of books that I got but have read. And on that stack should also be Florida by Lauren Groff, but I forgot my copy. I lost my copy, I should say, and I might be rebuying it. Then we have got a whole stack of books. Let me just grab them. I hope they won't fall. That I have gotten, but I have not read yet. So first off, we have Biased, Uncovering the Hidden Prejudice That Shapes What We See, Think and Do by Jennifer L. Eberhardt. I love the sound of this. I'm fascinated by this whole topic of biased and the racism and stuff that comes with it. I'm very, very curious what she's going to say about this. This was recommended by an author that I really, really like, although I haven't read any of her books. But she said this was very good, so I'm looking forward to reading that one. I think my non-fiction is at the top, so we're starting with that. Then we have The Silk Road by Peter Frankopan. This is a history of the world seen through the point of view of like the Silk Road. It's not the point of view of the Silk Road, but through what happens with the Silk Road. So I think it's going to be not necessarily focused on the Western world that I know more of, but more other parts of the world. So this is going to be fascinating. I'm looking forward to spending so much time with it and learning more about the history of the world. Then we've got 4 books. I was at the bookstore at Waterstones and here in the Netherlands, and I was supposed to not buy any books, but then I saw these. These are the Penguin New Ideas and the ones that are focused specifically on the climate change. There are about 20. They're all in these beautiful pastel colors. They're short books. They're a collection of text, always by one author on one topic. They can be collections of speeches that the person has done. It can be a collection of essays or one text that the person has written. So the 4 ones that I got, because I didn't get them all, proud of myself, are Warning for a Golden Toad by Tim Flannery. This one is a journey of the world, through the world, and seeing how we have already impacted Earth's climate. Then we have got Hot Money by Naomi Klein. This is how capitalism influences the climate change and how big a deal that is, and how we should, if we want to do something about climate change, we should look at capitalism. Then we have gone The World We Once Lived In by Wangari Maathai. This is about trees and why we keep cutting them. And last but not least, we have There Is No Point of No Return by Arne Nijs, and this is more philosophical about our connection with nature. I don't know whether I'm going to read these all in one go and maybe make a vlog or something, or whether that I'm going to sparkle them in my reading, because I think these are impactful texts and I want to take my time with them. Well, I want to digest them, and I don't know whether I should digest them, read them all in one go and maybe see also how they're interlinked, or read them over a longer period. I shall see what I shall do. Factfulness by Hans Rosling. No, I have not read this one yet. Happy, I finally have my copy. I've had my eye on this one for a very long time. Everybody that I speak to that has read this loved it and keeps recommending it. So now I can finally also at one point get to it. Then we have Kintu by Jennifer Nansubuga Makumbi. This one is historical fiction set in Uganda. I loved her other book, First Woman, that I read earlier this year, and this one I have high expectations of, very high expectations of. I'm not necessarily going to prioritize it because I know that I'm going to love it, if that makes sense. Same goes for The Island of Missing Trees by Elif Shafak. This is also historical fiction and it's also a family saga. Sweet spot for me. And then it's also apparently written from the point of view of a fig tree. I am pretty sure I'm going to love this. It's family saga, family set, starts in Cyprus, and I have high expectations. It did very well. People were raving about it when they were reading it for the Women's Prize. A little bit different is The Odyssey by Homer. This one is one that I'm not necessarily going to get to anytime soon. I'm happy that I have it so that I can get to it when I feel like it. However, I got the Oxford World's Classics edition because I have the Iliad in that same edition, and then I hope my books aren't going to fall. They're falling. And then, you know, that it will be nice on my shelves. However, this one is the epic poem version, and what I discovered with the Odyssey is that this version is not the poem version. I'm very slightly pissed, or slightly very pissed. I'm ignoring it. I don't want to read this in the prose version. I want to read this in the epic poem version, but I also want to have it in this matching editions. Why couldn't they do that? Very, very, very different is this book I found in a free library, and honestly the title just drew me in. This is Death and Croissants by Ian Moore. I think I'm just gonna read this over one weekend and then that will be enough. So let me just read you the back. Wait, no, I'm not gonna read you the back. This is about a middle-aged English man who lives in France and has a B&B, and one of his guests disappears. And then one of his other guests says, "We're going to discover where that guest is." And apparently things start to get pretty heated when the owner of the B&B's favorite hen is killed. Need I say more? It's going to be great. I also have gotten Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. This one is translated from... Is it not translated? From the Japanese by Jenny Tapai Takemori. I got this from Paula from Draw Your Books, and it's a short one, and I want to not read it in one go. I want to digest it. I think it's going to be a nice one to digest. It's about a woman that lives in a convenience store. Now this one is such a special find. I found this one in a free library. It is Herkunft by Sasha Stanicic. Now when I first heard of this one through Lanes, but from, what's her channel called? I can't remember. Great channel. I will link it down below. This is a German book, and well, the point when she was talking about it, it had not been translated yet to any other language. So I had written this down as, oh, I'm interested in this one because the writer is from Yugoslavia, but him and his family moved to Germany, and it's about being from a place that is different from where you live, and then also that place kind of disappearing because Yugoslavia is not Yugoslavia anymore. It's been set, now it's a lot of different countries. And I found this one in German, in a free library in the Netherlands. How unexpected is that? So really, really, really happy that I found this one. In the meantime, the book has been translated. It's went to the semifinals, I believe, of the BookTube Prize for translated fiction. So I could also read it in English, but I think my German could maybe be able to handle it. We're gonna see when I get to it. I think, yeah, I have high expectations of this one, and I hope my German is good enough. I can't remember what the English title is, but I will write that down here. Then we have an essay. So this is the author that I talked about a little bit earlier, that I really like. I saw a very long interview with her, and she sounds like a person that is very aware of stuff that's going on in the world and has these sharp analyses of things. So this is Eigen Welzijn Eerst by Roxane van Iperen. She's Dutch, and she's known for a historical fiction book about, it's called The Two Sisters of Auschwitz, I think, in English, and in Dutch it's Het Hoge Nest. This book is an essay about how the middle class has become more and more right-winged, and that in the past, so this is in the Netherlands, in the past the Netherlands was very accepting of everyone, and how that has changed over time and why that has changed and the impact of those changes. So very keen to get to it, and it's one that I should prioritize because I think a lot of what she says in the book shimmers through in a lot of the things that are happening right now in the Netherlands and maybe in Europe as a whole. So I should read this now because it's going to be an interesting way to view current history, present time. Let me see. The books just all fell. It's a book that I bought, but it's not necessarily one that is on my TBR. So this is a book, it's a collection of song texts of an artist that I really like called Wende Snijders. And I went to her show for my birthday, and so she collected the texts of the stories that she had. Most of them are in Dutch. And this collection is called Wilderness. Oh yeah, that was also what the show was like. And she also added some art of a person. Let me see, what is the artist's name? It's all very wild and free, and I haven't really taken the time yet to look at the texts, but I should at one point. Let me see, a few books left, all French. First off, I found The Second Sex by Simone de Beauvoir, Le Deuxième Sexe in French. I say I found, I mean my mother bought them for me when she was in France. Look at these covers, look how gorgeous these covers are. Is it one book, is it two books? I'm not entirely sure. I think she wrote it in two books, so these would then be two books. But this is one of the important texts about feminism, and this was written, when did Simone de Beauvoir, oh gosh, it's tiny lettering, and that's going to take me ages to get through. This is one of the issues that I have with these French mass market books. They're great because in France they make a point of making books cheap so that people can access to them. So you're pretty much obliged very early on to make pocket versions that don't cost a lot, but it also means that this book that does not seem very big has 350 pages. This one seems a little bit bigger, is already 600. So yeah, it's gonna take me a while to get through this one. And then I also have Grey Bees by Andrei Kurkov. A lot of people have read this one. It's one that is written by an Ukrainian author, and so that's very prevalent with the war that has been going on. In Grey Bees, we meet a man who goes to the region that is the border also with Russia, and apparently it's a good book to learn a little bit about what the relationship between Russia and Ukraine is. I was planning on reading it a lot earlier, and it's still on my TBR. But yeah, want to prioritize this one as well. So my stack has fallen. Let me fix the stack and then I'm going to count the books and I can give you a small summary. So, 9 books are ones that I had previously read. 3 to 4, if you're counting Florida, are ones that I have read or am currently reading. And then we have 18 that I have not read yet, which includes the song text collection. That's quite a lot. That means 18 plus, we're gonna say 4, 22 plus 9, 31 books. Am I saying that correctly? 31 books, yeah, that are new on my shelves. That's a lot for 4 months. I wish I got less books. There are periods in time where I'm doing well with that, where I realize I'm not going to... There was a small period in time where I had convinced myself that there was really no point in reading books that I was not going to really read that specific month. So, for example, books for my book club or that have to do with invisible cities. But then I went to Waterstones and I still bought 5 books that I was really wanting to have. So it's not always going well. It goes like this a little bit. But still happy about the quantity that I'm reading, and I wish I would buy some less books, but still that's it. That is what it is. I would love to hear if there are any books of these that you think I should prioritize. I'm thinking of doing a video where I look at my whole TBR and I prioritize them. I think that would be interesting because there are ones that I kind of feel guilty that I'm not reading, but at the same time, realistically, I'm not going to be able to read them this year, so why bother thinking about them? So I'm thinking about doing that. Let me know if that would be interesting. I'm going to stop talking. I will see you in another video. Let me know if there are any of these books also that you would be interested in anybody reading. That's always fun. And I'm gonna stop talking. Bye. Bye. Bye.